Have you ever wondered how our political system became so intertwined with big money? Well, it wasn't always like this. Decades ago, there were limits and regulations in place to prevent corruption and ensure fair elections. But then came a series of pivotal court decisions that established that money equals speech, setting the stage for the wealthy to have an outsized influence on politics. It's no wonder that over 75% of Americans believe it's time to take big money out of politics. Join us as we explore how money influences U.S. politics in profound and sometimes unsettling ways. The 75 podcast starts now.
Welcome to the 75 podcast. My name's Michael Hahn, and I am the founder and organizer of this new podcast group with the help of a number of other great individuals. And one of them is joining me here today, Frank Bahena. Frank, I don't know, did I pronounce your name the right way? Something I sure
appreciate the effort you're putting into that. And yeah, so glad to be here.
Yeah, me and Frank have been working with a number of other people, as I mentioned, on this project, on this idea around money in politics and getting this topic out there. Frank, thanks for joining.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
With you, tell me a little about. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about your background?
Well, I am a veteran. Currently, I'm back in college after years of not going. Father of two. Had living over in Southern California, and basically like before all this, I was not really involved in politics. Long story short, when COVID hit, I saw like just how incompetent our government was, and like the more I started getting into the news and trying to understand it, I would see like videos on Facebook and stuff like that. And then just the more I understood it, the less confident I was at their ability to take care of the American people. Unfortunately, eventually that led to me realizing the direction that the country was going, and the big thing being that I could just be there, be here and complain about it. But I figured, if I'm gonna be better off actually trying to do something and run for a position or run for Congress, basically, and which basically eventually led me to was it TYT Hope? Was it right?
Operation Hope, yeah.
Operation Hope. Right? Yeah. I saw you there, and since I had already had the idea to run for Congress, and then you had mentioned it, I'm like, oh, hey, that's the same thing I want to do. You've got the same idea. And that's when we started talking, basically. But how about you? What got you into this, Michael? How did you go about starting the 75 Coalition?
So I felt like, all right, if I was to try and run for all, I first off, identifying the issue that we had a major problem. I never really considered myself to say, oh, you're going to run for office or be a politician. Got a good job, a good paying job in corporate America. I'm a assistant corporate controller for a publicly traded company, and we're doing good, raising a family. I'm a father too, also, just like you, and living the American dream, right? Except for the fact that I see just gridlock in politics, nothing getting done, and on the contrary, it actually seems like things are regressing and depressing, and cities across America seem to be shuttering, and monopolies are forming. Right? So anyway, I said, okay, how are we maybe going to be able to get to the root of this problem? And I identified it with the just maybe the help or increasing my knowledge on this as money in politics as a core issue. So I felt like if I'm going to try and do anything productive with my spare time, let me focus on this money in politics issue. And so then that just got my wheels turning and said, we need to brand this topic. This needs to be put something needs to be kind of branded to make it popular or easily understandable between who is supportive of change in this area to get money out of politics, right, to drain the swamp, and then who isn't, right, and on the political side. So that was kind of the start for me, in first understanding the issue or the issues kind of being caused by the lack of representative government.
And there's so many things that just seems like broken or very inefficient at the moment. What would you say was like maybe the one thing that was like maybe emotionally most like got to you, I guess? What was the more like emotional part of it that made you like, yeah, I should definitely do this?
For me, one thing that really drove me crazy was the Democratic primary or lack thereof, because I just wanted to have some choices, right? And
we're talking about the Biden one, right? The recent one?
Yeah, right. The recent one where he dropped out late and they prevented, I guess the party in control prevented from having other voices being heard. So when I was talking to friends, colleagues, right, family, about other individuals running for office at the time, running for president, they're like, "What? Who?" And I said, "No, there's actually a few other people that are out there: Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, Cenk Uygur, right?" And
did they have a positive
media
response to that?
Well,
when you told them,
they didn't know about them, right? So that was a kind of like eye-opening situation that said, they didn't want to have debate, right? I guess this is my take. The big money, that's what I call it, big money. They didn't want to have a debate about having other alternatives. So they didn't. They prevented it. So it seemed to be a coordinated and organized blackout. And that was really kind of eye-opener for me. How about for you? Anything kind of sticks out?
For me, it was a lot of things, and it's been probably since COVID that I had issues with it. That I considered running, but I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I know like the amount of hate that they get. I know how emotionally draining it could be for a lot of these politicians that try to like fight the system, just because there is a lot that involves like having to fundraise, having to always take what do you call it, like hate comments all over the place, but it wasn't until probably the one thing that really got to me was the Uvalde, Texas shooting. And I would just imagine if that had been my kid, like my daughters, if they had gone through that.
Yeah, no, it's a tough. I mean, you see shooting, after shooting, and it's then another one at Florida State recently, and it's like,
yeah, sorry, it's actually getting to me right now. Wow, yeah. So that's basically
no, it's real, and it's like, oh, well, this is just a new normal, right? How you get used to it. No, yeah. Oh, another thing that would stick out to me when talking to people before I kind of got started with the 75, but like while the idea was manifesting or like growing, developing, whatever, was that people just generally felt it has always been this way. Oh, corruption has just always been this way, and there's no hope for changing it.
Yeah, like I think one of our conversations, you kind of mentioned you mentioned it being like the boiling frog situation. We've been in it for so long that we're just used to it.
Yeah, and nobody really talks about it. It's a big kind of hush hush whisper for some reason, and maybe that's because you don't talk about religion and politics. That's
part of it, I would say.
What a lot of people say, at least. Mm-hmm. But when you don't talk about things, this is what you get.
I would say it's also because when it has been brought up, I mean, in the media, like Bernie Sanders and stuff, and a few other politicians, you've seen like the response they've gotten from the media and just how they get attacked from it, as if they were like if they were sacrilege or something, or if it was blasphemy that he was talking about. When in reality, it's it's true, and it's causing so many issues.
Yeah. No, but at the heart of it, I think the voters understand that there's a problem. And so that motivated me to say, you know what, this isn't a losing cause, because we're not, the one thing I know, Americans are not losers. Right now, we got cards stacked up against us, and we got money stacked up. Probably the better word to use. We got money stacked up against us.
Mhm.
But, and the voters, the Americans, we might be down right now, but we won't be down. We won't be down for long, because 10 years, whatever it is, 15 years after the Citizens United case, people are waking up. So I think there's a lot of room for hope and for progress and reform. So that's what kind of like got me started going with this.
Okay. A bit off topic, but when you say big money, I'm like, that kind of sounds like a rap name. That might sound too popular. We should probably give it a different name, something more negative.
I mean, I don't know, because it comes from all sources. So that's why I kind of use it as like, versus saying just corporations. I mean, clearly we have an issue with corporations contributing money and dark money, right? That's another
Dark money, dirty money,
dark branding, dark money.
something like that. Yeah, because big money, I'm like, that sounds like a rap name. I want to have that name.
So yeah, it's call it whatever you want. I think
Right.
it's not rocket science that we got a problem on our hands, and there is a path forward, and thankfully the founding fathers of this country put it in as a means to correct for problems like this, and it's a constitutional amendment. So it doesn't need to be this incredibly difficult process.
Yeah.
If our representatives want to represent the people that feel that we need change, constitutional amendment. That's it. It's that simple. And if they don't want to represent us, then we find people that do. And that's what this 75 is about. It's about representing the majority, because the majority knows there's a problem. We knew it would drain the swamp, and that's what we want to do. So, attempt number 1 to drain the swamp, for whatever reason, not successful.
No.
I don't know that there's been attempt number 2 yet. So that's kind of what this is about, is drain the swamp. What we say, as I've been saying, is stop the money and stop the swamp.
Did Trump even run on that this time around? I don't remember if he did or not, about draining the swamp. I don't remember hearing too much about it this time. Did you?
No, I don't think it was really mentioned too much. Not nearly like it was the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I got to be honest with you. I've become frustrated so much with what is put out there by media that it's almost meaningless. I want to see action, not words. I want to see people actually doing something. So tell me what you're doing. Stop talking.
Yeah, I'm tired of all the performances without any action to back it up. Definitely, I agree with you on that.
So this is what we got. We got our first episode of our podcast. We know it's not going to be perfect right off the bat, but it's just going to try and do something. And shout out to Operation Hope, which brought us together. You mentioned it earlier, and this is a group that's trying to do good things for the American people in areas that could really help a vast number of Americans. So that got me started. That brought us together as well as other people together. And so we're going to focus on money and politics on this, the system. So I mean, myself, my own take is, and feel free to disagree with me, is that there's a number of politicians in the House right now, in the Senate, maybe less, but hopefully we get some more that are supportive of a constitutional amendment. So we're not starting from zero. We just got to get more. We got to get those representatives turned around. And if they don't, we find people that will, like you and like me. So
yeah, well, I would agree that there's definitely some politicians there that I get the feeling that we might disagree on the amount of them, of how many that would be. That's the thing where we probably would disagree on. But yeah, definitely.
I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist. I feel like if we show them a better way with some good leadership, then there'll be more coming on board. But
well, hey, if they're willing to change course, why not?
Exactly.
I'm definitely open to that. Okay.
Good. So I guess moving on to like the first kind of topic was 2024 election spending. And I don't know how much you know about the actual amount of dollars going in to the campaigns and the process this past election cycle?
I don't know offhand, but I definitely know it's more than it's needed. I mean, most of the money that's been raised, the majority of the U.S. People would not have that type of money to be able to give them, because I know it's coming mostly from corporations and dark money and all that. Even like some of the billionaires as well. We're not, as Americans, like just regular, I won't say regular Americans, but just as everyday Americans, basically, we don't have like millions or billions of money to be able to use that as speech, in our government that's supposed to be representing us, not just corporations and not just billionaires. This is supposed to be for everybody. But if everybody doesn't have that type of speech to be able to use it, well, then our voices are not going to be heard.
Oh yeah.
That's what I.
So if money is speech and you don't have a lot of money, then I guess you have no speech.
Exactly.
Right. So that's number one for me, is money is not speech. So feel free to disagree with me. Anybody out there also, is like, that's why I'm thinking about memes and stuff like, the $100 bill of trying to talk. What's it going to say? It's going to tell you it can't talk. It's like, come on. It's basic. So, sure, money buys advertising though. And advertising is advertising. Advertising is not speech. It's different. So that's kind of a core basic principle for me. And I think it aligns with the vast amount of Americans as well. So,
yeah.
No, I think that it's not, for me, the problem is not like 100% the politicians.
No, I know, but they're definitely not helping.
Yeah, I think that we need, it's safety in numbers to a large extent. So if we get more numbers on board, then you'll feel safer to step out and use your voice. And I would love to see more people do it. And I think there are people that are doing it already on both sides, Republican, Democrat, independent, right? So now Bernie's an independent, AOC is Democrat. And then you have, John McCain was a Republican, passed away now, unfortunately, before he could see kind of the campaign finance reform that he was pushing for. And that's one thing that I didn't realize back in the time. So when John McCain was running back in 2008 against Obama was a great orator, and John McCain was actually really supportive of getting big money out of politics. And he was in 2002 and 2000 was one of the key individuals, politicians that pushed forward legislation to make it harder, to make it stricter for committing corruption and bribery, making it more illegal, and putting in monitoring and oversight. And United changed that.
Did he get a lot of pushback against that when he was doing that?
Yeah.
And that's where I mean that's where I understand that there are a few people here and there that probably fought against it. So I'm not saying all of the politicians, but I would say the majority of politicians are not, are more self-interested than actually wanting to do the right thing. To an extent, obviously, you can always do the right thing because you do have to play politics.
You have to operate in the system, and so if you want to try and make gun control reform common sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to operate in the system. So you can't go and you need to take money to stay in the office if you want to try and make change in that area. So you need to then go out and try and fundraise and get contributions so that you can win your election, so that you can make change in the areas that you want to make change in, that you view are needed. So if it's the working families, right, and supporting the working class, and you need to go out and fundraise so that you can try and hopefully bring improvement to people's lives in that area. But for me, I feel like a lot of politicians are just missing the mark with where they're putting their attention on the core issue. For me and for you, I know, in talking with you in our meetings every week, is money in politics, baby. Money in politics, core essential. It's the cancer.
I was going to ask you then, have you had a lot of, when you bring up money in politics, what's been your reaction? Do you ever get any pushback? The reason I say this is because most people usually agree, but I've noticed that their attention doesn't stay on it. It'll go to like the symptoms, like, what it's causing. And they want to I don't know if they want to forget it or if it's just not as interesting for them. So I'm curious to see if you've gotten a different response when you've talked to people about it.
I see like a lot of pessimism mostly is the response. It's usually agreement that there's the issue, but then just pessimism that nothing's going to be able to get done. Because what do you see? You don't hear about it. There's no discussion about it.
Mm.
Credit to Donald Trump. Drain the swamp was right on. And that's why he was so successful. So if politicians want to be successful, drain the swamp, baby. So unfortunately, of course, we see now nearly 10 years later, right? When he was on the campaign trail in 2015 is when he was talking about drain the swamp. Now there's no real mention of drain the swamp, unfortunately.
No,
so this
make
new
the swamp
75, we want to make drain the swamp. We want to bring it back. And so what I've been saying, and what we are hopefully going to put on some t-shirts soon, is stop the money, stop the swamp, right? Because that's what's going to drain the swamp. You got to stop the flow. You got to stop the flow going into it. And American people, they're not dumb. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
We know it. We just need fucking leaders. Excuse my language. We just need leaders to say it, right? And we need people to then have options to vote for, have a choice. Hey, you want the guy that wants big money in politics? He's option A. There he is. Or do you want the person, the woman, whatever, that's opposed to it, right? And we need to know who's who. Right now, we don't have any options. If you know what I say a lot of times, sorry, I could go on. But I watch Wheel of Fortune. I like to have dinner every night at home with my family. Afterwards, we clean up. We watch Wheel of Fortune. It's on at 7:30 over here. So now there's the mayor race of New York City going on, and there is governor race of New Jersey. And so I'm thinking every time I see this, big money flowing in to put these commercials together. Are any of these people that I'm seeing for campaign finance reform, are any of these people for Drain the Swamp? That's what I want to know as a voter. That's what we should care about to a large extent. And it's not even an issue. We need to put this we need to put it on the kitchen table and talk about and figure out who it is, who's supporting it, who's not. Issue number one to me.
Yeah, just because a lot of them are, they talk a nice game, but when it comes to actual change or legislation, you definitely see pushback there.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to go in and put all this effort in to winning this election? Maybe they're first timers, right? They're outsiders and they get in. And now they get told they get there. Oh, if you want any placement on any committee, you need to fundraise because you got to buy your seats on the committees.
That's crazy for me. I don't know. That's crazy that you have to buy your way into committees. You would think it'd be whoever's, qualified or best suited to do it, as opposed to raising money.
Right. People that are in that area, maybe their state is an agricultural state, so they should be on the agricultural committee, right? Or maybe they're in Virginia, maybe they should be more on the defense committee, right? Or maybe they have a strong finance background and they should be part of the budget committee. No, it doesn't matter. It's how much money you raised. And not only that, the more important the committee, the more expensive the seat is. And maybe you've heard this, that's called pay for play.
Yep.
Pay for play. So, part of what we got to do is reform this system. You can't be able to buy your seats. That's got to stop immediately. It's got to stop. So we're the politicians that are talking about making it stop. We need leadership to say that. So that's where I criticize Chuck Schumer. Guy's been head of the Senate for a number of years on the Democratic side. And he's a New Yorker, right? So he's up for election in 2028. And for me, there's no chance that he should run again. There's no reason for him to run again. The American people need change in this leadership because we see the effects now. The Citizens United experiment is a failure. You see what happens. It's 1.9 billion in dark money in
and growing
2024.
each year.
Well, it doubled from 2020.
Yeah, substantially
2024 is, yeah. And like, so I think I read, this is from either the Brennan Center for Justice or the Federal Election Commission, the FEC website, that there's been like 4.3 billion in dark monies over the last 15 years. And 2 billion of it was in the last election cycle. So yeah, it's growing.
Jeez.
And that means you don't know where it comes from. You have no idea where the source of that money is. Talk about billions.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot of the
Really?
politicians are not really too excited to change that because they brought it up recently. I forget how long ago, but they're like, "Nah, we're not going to vote on that. We don't need that. It's not important." Which shows to me they know what it's going to cost, because a lot of them are getting that money, and a lot of that's it's going to go away if they do that.
Yeah. Now, I agree with you. I don't know that it's everybody. I think there's probably reasons.
No, it's definitely not everybody, but
Right.
the fact is that, how do I put it? Because there's so many of them, the people that do want to change it definitely, have a hard time. And like you said, they end up getting chastised by their own party, as well as getting attacked or getting challenged when they go up for re-election.
Yeah, that's right. If you were to say anything, there's going to be a wave of dark money, advertisements, attack ads against you. So you could support what 90% of the American people want, but that 10%, or not even, really, the big money's coming from the 0.001%. It's the slimmest. And if you study charts on the wealth disparity, you know that they say 1% has 50% of the wealth, but really it's even a fraction of that 1% that has all the wealth in this country. So, and we've never met these people, and they could be very good people and charitable in a lot of ways. All right, and I understand that they want to use their money to buy politicians because they got a lot of it, but by doing so, they're completely corrupting the system. That's the side effect. And there's a lot of good people out there too that have a lot of money, and they know it as well. There's a group called Patriotic Millionaires, for one, and I know they're focused more on like tax reform, but this is common sense. This is not rocket science, that money can influence people. So when you base a whole system of politics, winning and losing on money, it's you're inviting the influence in. So that's for me central issue number one, and hopefully what maybe making it relatable to other issues, right? So for you, when you think about it, money and politics, and
To me,
What-
I always go big picture, because I'm assuming you were asking like what problems do I see when it comes to that.
right.
I always go big picture, but I've noticed that people tend not to, the majority of people at least, tend not to want to go that big, because I don't know if they just don't understand it, or they don't see it as important, or it's not as fun to talk about, perhaps. But like, to me, like, the fact that it is causing the majority of issues, like when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to how much we spend on defense, with the military, Gaza, all that stuff going on. And then it was just never ending, right? We continue to pay for more and more militaries. It's just, when have we been in peace at this point, right? And the gun violence is a huge one. That one, I guess that one's a tough one, because there's so much debate. There's so much, what's the word?
Yeah, I think like it's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
It seems like when you listen and watch the news, right? My
It's
understanding,
it's not just the news. There's a lot of defenders of, like, the Second Amendment and all that,
oh sure,
without
no, I
realizing
believe
that.
too.
Yeah.
Right? I think what I was getting at was that about 90% of people understand that there should be some common sense reform to try and get guns out of the hands of, you know, people that are going to possibly do real harm with them.
Well, yeah, no, I think
Like there's a common sense kind of background checks or closing of loopholes that even the NRA members that would support, and hunters support, right? Gun enthusiast sportsmen support these things, but meanwhile our politicians got bazookas on their shoulders in their Christmas cards.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but like that's probably the I would say that was one of the not big as big picture as the other things, because we're not talking like huge departments of like the infrastructure and all the other stuff. This healthcare, defense spending. What else? Just the fact like how they take care of like agriculture, a lot of the regulations when it comes to that. Because a lot of the food we're eating, it just seems like over the years it keeps getting worse and worse. Like the quality of it, and it's not that
processed foods.
Yeah. And like
monopolies, right?
It keeps going. Like Monsanto, I don't want to name corporations, but like Monsanto's a big one. Kind of this is a theory of mine. I'm wondering if, because I've heard a lot that lately that the younger generation, it looks older for some reason, and I'm wondering if that's because of of the stress that they've been through, or if it's maybe tied to the fact that the food quality has gotten worse, and they've been eating it since a lot more than, well, not more than us, but they've started it since the beginning of their life. Whereas us, at least we had some form of decent food before it started getting worse and worse.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but my immune system has definitely changed. And I know they say, oh, it's like 7 years, it could change back, but there's a lot of foods that I'm now intolerant to. Thankfully, I don't need to use an EpiPen, but for a lot of people, they got to walk around with a needle to stick in their arm if they somehow get doused with something that is a lethal food to them. That was never really the case, So now, yeah, it's changed. It's definitely seen like some evolution has happened where children are born now with immune deficiencies at a rate or scale that was never there before. And
yeah.
Why is that? I don't know. I'm not sure, but
my theory is that all the like minerals and I don't know vitamins, but at least minerals that how it gets lost through agriculture could definitely affect that.
Yeah.
But earlier I found it funny that we're talking about how like the big picture, like the healthcare, agriculture, and all that stuff, and then you mentioned like the EpiPen. It's like people are having crappy food, and some of them have to walk around with EpiPen, which is like $400 or who knows how much for just one that has to get replaced every year or two.
Yeah.
Which then leads to them not having a job that makes enough for them to be able to buy it, and then which also leads to them not being able to afford a house to where they can buy and start to try to save up so that they can retire. And then they're trying to get rid of Social Security or all that stuff. So it's like they're just looking for any way to fuck us over, to in simple terms.
Meanwhile, our country, our government has been subsidizing the R&D that goes into these drugs to help provide. We should have ownership to some extent over it. Definitely.
Definitely.
I mean, come on, like,
yeah,
we're common sense businesses. If we're contributing to the invention, then we should have some stake in it. Whether it passes or it fails, we should have some stake in it as well. So, it is, but that's what we get when we allow big money into politics. It's the cycle, right? So we give the subsidies out. Well, let's say step back. The corporations buy the politicians write the tax code and give out subsidies through the budget, which fattens the wallets of the corporations, right? Which then allows them to buy more politicians. And it just goes in a circle. right? Of course, the media is there too. But
yeah, and a lot of times the politicians don't even write it. They just take it from the legislation from the actual corporations, like, oh yeah, that looks good, and just passes it on without even taking much input into it.
yeah. Oh, we're gonna have Affordable Care Act, and we're going to make certain drugs price fixed, right?
Mm.
Only certain ones, though. So all the other ones got no control. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter that they're going to be their patents expiring soon. That's not that's not important either. And that's why we're doing those, not the other ones.
Well, that's why I say it's not rocket science. People are fully aware, and they're looking for options, and they're looking for leadership. So this is us trying something, doing this podcast. Maybe it's nothing right now at the moment, right? We don't have any followers at the moment, but the idea is solid, and hopefully we get some traction and the snowball starts to grow. And that's my hope, right? Is that as we keep doing more of these episodes and, dive into more nuanced discussion about things, that more people step out and more discussion step out. More people stand up, run for office. More people just talk about it with their friends, talk about even the group or other groups that are doing, because we could mention other groups that are doing things. I mentioned Operation Hope earlier, which got me started with this and connected me and you together, right? It also connected some other people with this group, and I'm looking forward to having them on a podcast and letting everybody get to know them as well, and opening this up where we can give grassroots candidates an opportunity to speak for free, use their voice, not going to cost anything, right? You don't need to have $1 billion to run for office. You can do it on the cheap, but we need a little bit of help to get there. So that's what we're hoping to do with this. And I know that the good thing is that we have overwhelming support from the American people. 75% plus. You know, about 200 million people.
Right. There's a lot of there's just a lot of people that are just not happy with the current setup that's going on with the U.S. and like I mentioned earlier, it just seems like it's getting worse and worse, and there's only so much that people will tolerate before something breaks.
Yeah. So this is a no-brainer to me. This is like the one that needs to be on the ballot. We need to have and in Maine, they put it on the ballot. Last election, I don't know if you are aware of this one, but Maine, the state of Maine, had a ballot measure that was to, make it illegal to have outside money and put a cap on political action committee contributions, like individuals contributing to them. And it passed. Overwhelming support, roughly 75% support from the voters of Maine. That's
when was this?
2024.
2024. Okay.
Guess what happened right after that? 2 political action committees, whatever, organizations filed a lawsuit against it. This is unconstitutional. They said. So now the case is, I guess, pending judicial review. So
yeah, but I'm not, and unfortunately, I don't have that much confidence that if it were to reach like the Supreme Court, that we would get the outcome, the correct. Well, I won't say correct, but the
one the
proper. Yeah, well, not even just
the voters, the one the voters voted for. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. The Supreme Court knows better because they're unbiased. Right.
Oh yeah.
Massive sarcasm in that.
Exactly. You definitely have to add that because some people will take you very seriously.
No, listen, they're in the book or the podcast, The Master Plan. It talks about this Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell, and he was the architect of something called the Powell Memo.
Yeah,
and that was written back in like 1971. Nixon reads it, puts him on the Supreme Court like 3 months later, right? And he's kind of the architect of the Buckley versus Vallejo decision and a later Supreme Court case as well. So when he gets put on the Supreme Court, he's on the board of directors of Philip Morris at the time. So Philip Morris, the cigarette company, puts together a big celebration, big party for him. And in this, they give him a judicial robe, like the Supreme Court robe.
Really?
With all the different sponsorships on it. You gotta look at this picture. Yeah, it's great. I mean, great in not a good way. Yeah, it just goes to show, like, that's what this was about, right? This is about buying the Supreme Court. And we've seen that with other Supreme Court justices as well. The ones that voted to pass Citizens United, the ones that voted for Speech Now versus the FEC, and a host of other ones that came after Citizens United. So, yeah, it's not the Maine. The voters of Maine, unfortunately, if it gets to the Supreme Court, probably are going to be overruled by the Supreme Court, and they're going to say it's unconstitutional. So that's why the path forward requires a constitutional amendment. And that's a great thing about this country. We've already had 27 of them, maybe 28 if you count the Equal Rights Amendment, which never really got fully ratified, but incredibly, there's no Equal Rights Amendment. But
yeah, I guess people don't want that.
I mean, it was passed around, but right, it just wasn't passed, I guess, by the states. I don't know. So there's a couple alternatives. Some groups want to do a constitutional convention and start it through the states. My approach, or our approach,
I mean, at this point, whatever works.
I'd say just get it right through the House. Get it right through the House, right through the Senate. We need just to let voters know who's for it and who's against it. So that's the approach that we're going to try and take with this 75. Track people, reach out to politicians, find out what side they're on. Do they agree that a constitutional amendment is needed? Or do they think that, hey, status quo, baby. We're good the way it is. Let the money flow. Let it rain, right? So I think the voters know the answer is constitutional amendment. So
my prediction is that it's going to get a lot of voter support and a lot of pushback from politicians.
So we vote them out. The voters got the control. We just need options, right, brother? So.
And then you mentioned Lewis Powell. That was the guy that basically made the plan on how to take over the Supreme Court to be able to, get the outcomes that they want. That was the one you talking about, right, earlier?
Activist judges. Yeah, so we need activist judges. In the memo is not terribly long, so I encourage people to look it up. Maybe we could put a link to it in the description of the podcast.
That's a good idea.
I think I saw it on some like Greenpeace. Yeah, I think I saw it on like the Greenpeace website. Believe it or not, they had it up there for the time being until our government takes it down. But we'll get a copy. We'll make sure we put it on our own website as well. It's for public record. Yeah. So there was a number of things in that memo as a blueprint to take back control, because at that time, Ralph Nader was doing really good things on kind of safety in cars. And so that's what got Lewis Powell agitated, I think, was that he felt that the cars was going the wrong direction. Yeah, well, they didn't have seatbelts in cars at the time.
Right. Yeah,
so I was
surprised there was a lot of pushback for that.
Sure. Oh, it's going to cost a couple $100, I guess, to put seatbelts in cars. So they don't want to spend that. You think of all the lives that book saved, Unsafe at Any Speed. So, that book changed history. And right now, we're at a spot where we can change history as well. Obviously, we need a lot more people to get on board and become aware. So part of the thing that I think we do or we think about is identify the issue, right? Discuss the issue and solve the issue. Like, identify it. This is a problem, right? Start talking about it. And we solve it by standing up. We solve it by getting people to run. So make it safe for people to run. Give them confidence to run, to be successful by speaking out against it. And I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent. The more the merrier, in my opinion. Give people options. step up. Like you're going to plan on doing, like I might plan on doing too. Like that's what this is about, right? We need to make this change. We need to make this movement. And, I know Bernie Sanders is getting old in age, and think of what you want about him, but the guy's been consistent. He's called it straight from the start. This is a problem.
It's crazy how consistent he's been.
Yeah. And think what you want about AOC, but she's for drain the swamp, right? So the number one issue for most Republicans in probably the 2016 election was drain the swamp. It seemed to be. Everybody was getting behind that line. Where's been the policy proposals besides just, cutting government spending? Cutting government spending is not drain the swamp to me. I don't know if it is to voters, but yeah, I believe in balancing the budget. I believe in finding, reducing the deficit that we have. What is it? $37 trillion? Our deficit?
This is the
37 trillion, and they want to add another 5 to it in this next budget. Come on. That's government capture. That's like one of the biggest issues is our deficit, our credit rating, the interest expense that we have to pay on this debt. They're bankrupting the country because they're funneling money out. And you mentioned it before, like this is a time of peace for our country, And I get there's other things happening like artificial intelligence, and there's game-changing technology out there that we need to make sure we're on the cutting edge of.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. I'd be aware of that. And I don't know that our politicians are fully aware of it. Maybe some are and some aren't,
And if they are, they don't take care of it.
That's the thing we don't even know, because the impacts of the change in this technology are not really fully discussed.
For me, I'm not too confident about their technological knowledge, especially when you've seen like some of the, like when they were discussing, or they had, I think like what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg, for like a hearing or something. And they were asking him like stupid questions like, oh, I can't seem to figure out this thing on Facebook. Can you help me or something? I forget if it was exactly that, but it was really dumb. Like they were trying to ask like for technical support during the hearing. It's like, really? That's why you have them here to get technical support. So to me, that doesn't give much.
You're talking about like basic, like, hey, I can't get my login. Go.
Because or some stupid thing like that, or like, oh, this person doesn't reach out. I forget what it was, but it was something dumb. And it's like, that's not why, we're paying these guys to be there. We're not paying them to get technical support from the CEOs of these corporations.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that could happen through AI and through social media. I mean, shoot, we're going to be using it right now, right? To get this message out. So
the problem is that because I doubt that unless I don't see it going away. So the next best thing would be for them to try to regulate, sooner rather than later, so that, it causes the least amount of damage while getting the most amount of benefit from it. But knowing them, they're probably going to, wait another 10, 20 years before they start doing something about it.
Right. No, it's going to be super interesting. I mean, right now we're building a machine or a system that's going to be smarter than us. That's the advantage that we've had as humans in the food chain, in our span on planet Earth. We've been the smartest out of anything on this planet, right? And we have thumbs. So
yeah.
I think that's agree.
There we go.
Well, but now we're gonna have this alien intelligence that's going to be smarter than us, right? It's going to be able to beat us in the chess games. It's going to be able to beat us in the game called Go, right? The Chinese game Go. It's going to be able to solve problems, create art. It's going to make jobs obsolete. It's going to change a lot of things, and it's not going to change overnight, but it's going to change. And when we put our reliance into this technology and we become dependent on it, that's when we lose control. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous, is, and also kind of got me into started this. Well, I don't think giving up the control to artificial intelligence might be such a great idea in some regards, because more information that goes through this doesn't necessarily mean better decisions for humanity, right? It all depends on how it's built and the oversight and mechanisms to reform it when needed, right? Correcting mechanisms. So if we see that something is operating inaccurately or not in the best interest of our country or our people, then we need to be able to fix it before it gets out of control.
That sounds like
But
we have
we still have to
maybe a
put
specific area that you're worried about that it might be
finance. And how about the finance and banking industry? So we start to put everything through AI, and now there's computers, and the alien intelligence is making decisions and impacting, and it sees something happening, and the stock market collapses because it starts to sell and do trades automatically, right? And then we
Yeah.
have a 2,000 point decline on the market, right? I mean,
Yeah, and that's where
there's
things
could be
are-
other examples as well, right? Sure. And God forbid there's autonomous weapon systems, and it identifies some kind of threat and automatically releases a bomb.
Yeah. I mean, a great example of that would be like
As a
the Tesla self-driving systems, the automated, supposedly self-driving. If you've seen like the accidents that's caused and all that stuff, the trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's for me is you know the stuff that maybe you see. It's the stuff that we don't see that worries me. The stuff that's really complex, that's even just hard to understand naturally, like the financial system, derivatives, and you remember that the housing collapse of 2008. People didn't really understand what those um, those investment vehicles were, and before you know it, they were worthless, right? So, and then you had a banking collapse that almost took down our entire financial system
It seems like we're heading.
in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it seems like we really haven't done that much to prevent it from happening again.
It depends on who's in control usually. So there's two camps of more regulation or less regulation, and it kind of goes up and down, usually is the way that I see it. And right now we're in kind of a less regulation cycle. And so it makes me a little bit nervous that we have the new technology coming out. We're in a less regulation cycle, quite frankly. But I don't say that I'm an expert in any of these areas. I work in corporate America, and I try to do the best that I can in that, just like, I'm sure you try to do what's the best, but I try to read, stay current with current events, read, books on history. So I get more information, but, and I use AI to that benefit as well, to understand more about money and politics, and to learn more about, just things that are going on in the world. And I use AI to maybe help me craft a better letter at times, right? Not all the time, because I don't want to lose that skill, but it's a good technology. There's a lot of good that could come from it.
Yeah.
Right. It could help root out corruption. It could help root out tax cheats. So
yeah, it's like anything.
It's
a tool. It's how it's used. It's a tool. So however we use it, how we regulate it, it's gonna mean how how it impacts us moving forward. Because I definitely see a lot of benefit in besides the downsides that I've heard of. There's definitely a lot of positives to it as well.
Totally. It's going to bring the system of information together in one over time, right? And it's the what was the term? The Internet of Everything, right? Was some term? Is that? Maybe I got
Internet of everything. I don't know.
But then you have an algorithm that's learning and growing and using it, and you ask it questions, and you could have relationships with it, right? So maybe people that are lonely can have an AI, algorithm that keeps them company. And
Yeah,
it's back is
they have that already, actually.
totally, yeah. So
I don't know, like, I don't think that's a good example because I remember seeing an article about, unfortunately, a teenager, I think, committed suicide because of he had like an AI girlfriend. And I guess it was like egging him on or something like that. I could be wrong on that part, but from my understanding was that he had committed suicide because of it.
I think I remember that like story like that too. And that's where, you know, that to me doesn't mean that the whole system's bad, but that there needs to be correcting mechanisms.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Right.
And have people like parents know that this is a possibility, obviously, and to keep an eye on it because it's so new that I wouldn't have expected something like that to happen. And because
For real
unfortunately
depression.
it does happen, we do need to keep an eye on it and understand it better too.
Yeah, we have a real problem with depression in this country.
Yeah.
So maybe this could help with that, if used correctly. But will it be used correctly? It all depends on, I think, who's in charge and what their interests are.
And
So
what we're saying is whoever's in charge now sucks. So, so that's not good.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm holding out hope that common sense with a little bit of pressure from the American people can change the attitude. Holding out, hey, yeah, I'm an optimist. So we get a lot of pessimism, and with that, nothing's going to get accomplished. So without the hope, and that's what I wanted to kind of get at towards the end of this, podcast episode, was what gives you hope for the future. So maybe this is a good transition into that. What gives you hope for the future, Frank?
The thing that gives me hope is, it's going to sound bad, but the amount of things that are breaking down to me gives me hope that we might be close to the breaking point for not just like the systems, like government and all that stuff, but how things are being run, but as well as the breaking point for people, for citizens, like for the American people, to see that just how bad it is, just to see how this isn't working, and that it's time for change. Because a lot of times, if things aren't bad enough, if it's just like could be better, sure. It's not. It doesn't give enough. It doesn't give people the motivation to actually change things or to vote for different things. But if they see how bad it is and why this is going to lead to even worse outcomes, that they may be ready to take the step and vote for something else, for something new or something different that maybe 5 years ago they would not have even considered.
Right. It's kind of like, it's like the wake up call, right?
Yeah. And then there's also that
slap in the face, like already.
Combined with the fact that there's so much information out there now, with the internet, independent media, and all that stuff, a podcast, that a lot of the information that 10 years ago people wouldn't be able to find, or they wouldn't be able to get understand it, or just there just wasn't enough there for them to really get a good understanding of it. It's a lot harder for the politicians and for like the media to try to keep certain what's the word, like certain talking points to actually stick. People are not buying it as much anymore, and like I'm seeing it more and more, even with the whole kind of their talking points and all that.
I think I agree with you on a lot of that. That gives me hope as well. It's like kind of we've just hit the floor with some of this, but I feel that this, with the Citizens United case, and now with the expanding like amount of money, that you're right. It's like a wake up call now, where the fighting oligarchy rally tour that Bernie Sanders is putting on shows me that there is a real support, right? Mm-hmm. And the Make America Great Again, Drain the Swamp rallies as well, that there's a real desire for people to get reform done on campaign finance. And I think that is at the heart of the matter for so many of our problems that we have in the country. So I just feel like a percentage wise, so many more people are now aware of it. And like the iron is hot, so to say. It's time to strike, right? While we have this. And thankfully for, it takes time to put this stuff together, and that's what we're doing with the 75. And, gosh, I wish that we had been able to be even further along than we are right now. But we're doing something, and there's a lot of other people that are doing things as well. And the plan is to try and connect with any and all groups that are interested in getting money out of politics and becoming a unified front against it. And it could be one way or the other. So that gives me hope as well, kind of like this just seemingly awakening of individuals' awareness of it. And now we just got to make it even more mainstream, bring it to the kitchen table so that people that are fed up with politics, they start to hear about it. So people that aren't tuned in start to hear about it. And that's the challenge. So how do you get that out? Like, how does that spread? And,
we got to take action. We got to take action on it, because if people are starting to get aware of it and nothing gets done, they're just going to get disillusioned, and it's not going to matter. So I think it's a great time to start to take action for sure.
I'm calling for like a word of mouth campaign. People start talking about the groups that are out there. The 75 is one of them, right? Move to Amend is another one. Wolf Pack is one that's saying, you know what, if we got to do a political action committee to make change in this area, well, good, we're going to do that. Wolf Pack. There's another one I know of recently, Rebellion Pack. It's very similar. And there's Represent Us. I don't want to leave any out. There's Larry Less, the Harvard professor that is working to do. There's people and organizations focused on making change in this area. It's just not reported. So we got to go around them. We got to go around the mainstream and get that, make the American people aware of these groups, and get people to trust that they can stand up and run on this issue. Make this the core issue for their platform, and do it at the state level. Do it for the federal level. Any seat that has a voice in a constitutional amendment, run at that level. And say that's why you're running, because you care about that. So I think that's what we got in our future. I think we got this coming up. I think it's, like I said, it's the hot topic right now. And
definitely more hopeful that if we do end up running in 2026, which I'm still planning to, that by talking about money in politics, 10 years ago, I would have, people would have not been as positive to it. I probably would have tanked your candidacy. I forget how you said it, but anyways, it would not go well. And now I feel like that's not the case, at least not off the bat.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. The donors don't support it. The donors are not going to support you.
Right.
The big donors. But
we don't care about them.
The voters will.
That's what
you just got to let them know. We just got to let them know who those people are. So we got a robust plan over here. Hopefully we can bring it all to fruition. It's going to be a lot of work, and would love to get more people engaged. And if they want to, look us up and reach out to us, people can email me at michael.hahn. That's Hahn, michael.hahn. And maybe we'll put the link in the bio too. Michael.hahn at the75.us. And I'd be happy to hear from people, either just words of encouragement or, want to get involved in something, reaching out to their politicians. Those are things that we've got planned coming up in the near future. So
no, that's funny that you mentioned about reaching out to our politicians. One of my assignments from history was to, more actually American government, was to reach out to our representatives, send them out a letter, and ask them to respond. So I'm waiting to see if they do.
I reached out to my representative just recently as well with the idea for our group to see what they thought of our high level plan. I kept the letter short because I knew that you're very busy. So, yeah, we need more of that, and we need it unified. So I know we can go around and around in circles, but I think this is a start, and that's what this is intended to be. And as I started off saying originally was, we're not podcasters. I know I'm certainly not a podcaster, but I'm trying to do my best, and that's all I can try to do. So, thank you, Frank, for being part of this podcast today. It's a real pleasure having you be part of this group, and
thank you for inviting me out.
I think I
That's it. Thank you. I would say thank you for inviting me as well. Obviously, this is it's a lot easier to do it with a group than to try to do it by ourselves. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Heck yeah. And me too. All right. To everybody watching, also, if you stuck with it through the end, thank you. And hopefully we'll have another podcast episode, I guess we'll call it, out in another week or two with another member of the 75. And then after that, we'll come out with some more people, hopefully in the area. And this is all just coming. Hopefully it comes fast and furious and we get it going and rolling, but these things take time. So thank you again for listening to us and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.